I finally watched Obsession, and it's definitely one of those movies you should probably watch in theaters.
Spoilers ahead, of course. Delete.
Our protagonist, Bear, has a crush on his coworker, Nikki. He fails time and time again to tell her how he feels. One day, she shares that she will actually be quitting her job and moving on in her life. During a phone call with Nikki, she actually loses her necklace, and that's when Bear decides to go to a gem shop and find a replacement. Struggling to find the perfect necklace, he sets eyes on a novelty item, the One Wish Willow. Say your wish.
I wish Nikki Freeman loved me more than anyone in the entire world.
Break the stick. Wish comes true. Simple. Later, the group of friends head to the bar for a trivia night. After trivia, Bear offers Nikki a ride home. Outside her house, Nikki says bye to Bear, but he stops her. He stumbles on his words, but he quickly dismisses what he was about to say. But Nikki outright gives him an opportunity to confess his feelings for her. But he instinctively says, "We're just friends." Call me crazy, but she looks a little disappointed here. Nikki then proceeds to walk away towards her house door. Bear, still in the car, frustrated at himself, pulls out the One Wish Willow, and he makes a wish. And the wish works. But Nikki becomes a crazy obsessed codependent partner. She threatens their friend Sarah, who actually has a crush on Bear. She watches Bear sleep, scares him, and makes him a cat sandwich. Yeah, that's also something to mention. At the beginning of the movie, Bear's cat dies, and Nikki packs him lunch. And at lunch, "Hey, that sandwich you're eating, meow meow." Nikki, getting so jealous over their friend Sarah, ends up killing her brutally. She gets more unhinged as the movie goes on. In the end, Bear desperately attempts to get his best friend Ian to make a wish to alter Bear's wish. Ian wishing for $1 billion and the money just raining down on them. After that failed attempt, Bear gets so desperate that he heads home and tries to get the under-influenced Nikki, freaky Nikki, to make the wish for him, but no dice. Ian barges in and Nikki shoots Ian in the face. All else has failed, and Bear retreats into the bathroom, deciding to off himself. He swallows sleeping pills, quickly trying to throw them up, and in the distance he hears the One Wish Willow go off. And Nikki did make a wish. Nikki wished for Bear to love her as much as she loves him. Bear, now entranced, faces Nikki in the living room, and they share a moment, but too little too late. Bear succumbs to the overdose, with freaky Nikki watching her partner die. And then it clicks. Nikki has returned. The wish is now erased. She screams in horror of her surroundings, and the movie closes out. Obviously, a lot more shit happens, but you can go watch the movie for yourself. But here's some cool shit. So let's talk about the wish. Bear wished that Nikki would love him more than any person in the world. We find out in the movie that Sarah, one of the friends in the group, actually has a crush on Bear. They do share a brief moment in the car before she is brutally murdered. Sarah kind of just throws herself more and more at Bear throughout the movie. And the wish is that Nikki has to love Bear more than anyone, since Sarah progressively falls more and more in love with Bear, causing Nikki to become more obsessed, hence killing that bitch. And it seems like Bear was actually starting to reciprocate some of those feelings with Sarah, causing Nikki at the end to actually start to resemble Sarah. Nikki wearing Sarah's hair, her dress, even not drawing, more like cutting Sarah's tattoos on her own body. Bear dies the same way his cat does. At the beginning of the movie, we see Bear come into his apartment where he sees his cat Sandy just lying on the floor, stiff, seemingly foaming at the mouth, and at the end of the movie, Bear swallowing those same pills. Ian's death is foreshadowed by the picture booth photos. It's kind of a blink and you'll miss it moment. At the beginning of the movie in Bear's room, we see those photos you take at one of those photo booths. In the last picture, we see Ian's eyes crossed out. It's not so obvious, like a gunshot on his forehead, but I mean... Nikki's tiger gem ends up saving her life. So Nikki carries a gem called a tiger's eye, and Nikki's gem is thought to give courage and confidence. A lot of people have mentioned online that she gives the gem to Bear in the dinner scene, and people are saying that since she gave it up, she starts losing more control over herself, since the gem itself also gives mental clarity. But I thought that was more of like a symbolic thing, but also it was a setup for this payoff later on. So in the bathroom at the end of the movie where Bear decides to off himself, he takes a look at the gemstone that Nikki gave him. And in that moment, he finally decides to end himself. So Nikki giving up her protection is ultimately what saves her in the end. The irony. Ian's sabotage. At the beginning of the movie, we see Ian and Bear share a conversation, with Ian giving advice to Bear on how he should pursue Nikki. Bear very much embarrasses himself at the beginning of the movie, but Ian tells him time and time again that, hey, you need to wait. You have all the time in the world. The reason Ian told Bear to wait was because Ian was too much of a coward to tell Bear about him and Nikki's relationship. Ian was very much projecting when he was saying to Bear, you have all the time in the world. It's also probably Ian's selfish attempt to maintain his casual relationship with Nikki, since likely one of them set up a boundary that there's nothing to come of this relationship. It's kind of hinted that Ian is more looking for the more casual relationship, while Nikki's the one looking for something more serious, something real. Bear's selfish tendencies. Bear's tendencies are kind of hinted at all parts of the movie, but especially the beginning of the movie. Bear's carelessness of leaving his sleeping pills out for his cat to get into them, and even what he says during that scene, he says something along the lines of, how did you get into them? And then quickly after disposing of the cat, we see him put the pill bottles back into the cabinet. Bear's lack of accountability shows way early on in the movie. Something similar later on during the gift shop scene, we see Bear buy the One Wish Willow instead of the gemstone that we know Nikki will like. There's obviously other details that I may have missed. There's other more so obvious ones that I'm not going to go into, but if there's some other ones that I missed, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Okay, so let's talk about the cat theory. So there is a theory going around that the entity or demon or whatever, can we also get that straight? It's not a demon or entity. The fucking director said that himself. It's not a demon. Stop saying it's a demon, please. So whatever is controlling Nikki is actually Bear's cat. The evidence being that it shares pet-like behavior. Craving attention. Nikki waits at the door for Bear to come back from work, even going so far as soiling herself.
Now look at you. You soiled yourself.
Pissed myself.
Similar to how an untrained pet does when left alone for too long. In certain scenes, how Nikki's eyes catch the lights in similar ways to how cats do or other predatory animals. Nikki's stealth, the way she is able to move quickly and quietly. And since the cat Sandy loved Bear so unconditionally, to fulfill Bear's wish, Sandy's spirit was placed into Nikki to fulfill that wish. I'm not the biggest fan of that theory because I think most of these points have simple explanations and they're all mostly for the horror aspect. The shrine for the cat is whatever's possessing Nikki doesn't have basic social cues and understanding of what you typically do when a pet dies, how to act in certain social situations. You know, the stealthy part is just for the scares. The waiting at the door is kind of where you get me, but also at the same time, her whole sole purpose is to love Bear. So when she's not loving Bear, she kind of just becomes like a statue because she has nothing to do, you know? So, but hey, what do I know? I don't know. This could be monkey fucking paw rules. Who knows? Do we really think Nikki loved Bear? Now this is the heavily argued part of the movie. There is some evidence especially that points to her actually liking him. During the scene where he tries to confess his feelings to her, she straight up says if you do you like me? If you like me, now's the time to tell me. That didn't strike me as now's the time to tell me so I can I'm gonna tell you I don't like you back. You know, Nikki doesn't seem like that kind of person from what we've seen. Very little of what we've seen. Also a few minutes earlier from that, she straight up says, when I like a guy, no one knows. But then there's also evidence to say otherwise. We all know what I'm talking about, the Hansel and Gretel incest story. But you could argue that the freaky Nikki just added that incestual aspect to it. Maybe not even realizing that Hansel and Gretel is a story about siblings. I don't know. The story very much makes it seem like it's the other way around. But Curry Barker left it ambiguous for a reason, so we're just gonna leave it at that. The man that works at One Wish Willow. So we get a scene later on in the movie where Bear calls the number on the One Wish Willow box. So Bear calls the number in hopes to actually be able to alter his wish. And the guy on the line says, well, we don't really do that. Later in the conversation, he actually asks Bear if he wants to talk to Nikki. And then we get that gut-wrenching scream. So some lingering questions might be like, who is that on the other line? Where is Nikki? And how is he able to speak with her? I mean, let's go off of what we know. We know that One Wish Willow is a real company with a real customer service line, and somehow they're able to produce these wishes to hundreds and thousands of people around the world. So likely the company is involved in some shady witchcraft shit, and they just have like a customer service line. There's just some guy that handles all the complaints. I think it's just a very simple explanation.
What's up, baby girl?
I was calling to see if there's a way I can cancel a wish.
Homophobe. Homophobe. There's a homophobe right here.
It's a real company that somehow has the power to fulfill these wishes. And, you know, with every company, there has to be a production line. There has to be marketing. There has to be a customer service line. My thing is, like, how the fuck has nobody investigated this goddamn place? And how's this company still going? And in the same way, like, they're able to produce the power to make these wishes, that they're able to, like, supervise certain things that go on in the wishes. The director himself said it's, like, some kind of, like, purgatory thing that she's in. That's something to go off of. Because it's strange. It's not like she's just, like, being kept somewhere, like, entirely. It's, like, because the real Nikki is able to, like, come back in brief moments. I don't know, like, for me, I kind of, like, picture her, like, in a fucking glass jar or something, like, on Curry's desk, and he just picks it up, and he's like, oh, you want to talk to her? And then, like, he just puts the jar to the phone. I don't know, but it's some kind of purgatory, and obviously they have, like, some kind of access, being able to monitor. But holy shit, man, this movie, what an experience. Definitely go watch it for yourself if you haven't watched it. Any other crazy theories you may have, or some key details that I may have missed, just let me know. Let me know your thoughts about this movie in the comments, and
If she means this much to you, and I know she does, say, Nikki, I think we should grab a drink sometime. One wish, Willow. You only get one wish. I wish Nikki Freeman loved me more than anyone in the entire world.